The corpse lay propped up against the wall, its head cocked to one side as if curious. However, its deadened gray eyes indicated neither intrigue nor interest. The eyes themselves stared emptily, watching the dust motes flicker in the moonlight and piercing Robert with their gaze. Robert himself wondered how this woman, this thing, showed up in his dreams. Robert was an experienced lucid dreamer, and yet this pile of dead weight wound up here, foul presence and all, without his permission. He tried to get rid of it.
Go away,
he shouted. Though this method of removal worked most nights, this time he was unlucky. Instead of it being willed away, the corpse slouched a bit more, as though uncomfortable with the way it was sitting. It continued examining Robert's conscience.
Go away!
He struck it. It felt real. So very real. For a second, as his hand made contact with the icy rough skin, he could almost perceive it as an actual sensation felt by his trembling fingers. He stumbled back, eager to leave the room, but the walls pressed in, as interrogative as the she-dead that sat before him, ever scrutinizing. He reached behind him for the door and tugged at the handle in a frenzy, keeping locked eyes on her. Locked. He shook it harder, thinking it to be some mistake. After all, he was the one in control instead of this thing.
I'm not afraid of you,
he growled, his voice a low tremor.
I'm not. You leave me alone, you hear? Stop it!
The walls, sensing his denial, pushed in closer, forcing him nearer the reposed body.
I'm not afraid. I'm not.
An oppressive scent assaulted him, and he gagged. But still, he was pushed and prodded closer, closer to the eyes, the stench.
I'm not.
But mewling whimpers slid up his throat as the room crumbled, leaving the pair in a coffin. Her bony arms drew around him in a sick embrace as she whispered inquiries in his ear. He attempted to push back, push away. But the coffin lid held firm, and as his body hovered over her, her features twisted into a knowing grin.
No!
He bolted awake, finding the corpse on top of him. He recalled the drinks, the shouting, the knife. Alarmed, he shoved her off and attempted to drag her stiff body somewhere else, anywhere else, but was dismayed to hear the approaching siren noise. A glint in her eye indicated that it was exactly what she'd planned. Had he not shouted in his slumber concerning the neighbors, he may have had the opportunity to hide away the corpse with little trouble, and perhaps get away with the crime. However, Robert felt that even if that had happened, the corpse would still have found a way to visit, to crawl into his dreams as it did that night. As it does now, tormenting Robert as he weeps in his cold cell.